Hey everybody, Chris the old ass retro gamer here. I'm back with yet another pickups video, but just as I promised in the last one, this one will conclude with my Gen Con pickups. Were they just as awesome as last year's? We'll just have to wait and find out! And also, I figured I should do more of these pickup videos so that I don't have stacks and stacks and stacks of games all over my desk, and I have so many that it takes 3 hours to film said pickup video, and I do so much talking that I lose my voice the next day.
True story.
Brevity. It's what's for dinner. But as you know, I was on collecting hiatus in the 2 months leading up to Gen Con, so I would have money to spend at the convention. But that didn't quite stick again. Not that I was doing my usual routine of going to stores looking specifically for games and stuff like that. No, if I happened to be at a place that had a game that was at a good price, I would pick it up. Or if I got an email from Amazon saying they were having a flash sale, I would take advantage of it. You know, just stuff like that. I wasn't actually going out looking for games and stuff like that to add to my collection. So it's not to say that once I got back from Gen Con, I didn't lose my mind a little bit. Nope, not at all. The only NES game I picked up was Demon Sword by Taito, which I've always considered to be like an unofficial sequel to The Legend of Kage. The game plays the same, it almost looks the same, the mechanics are all the same, so if you like Legend of Kage, you'll like Demon Sword. I know I do. Still finding some decent Sega Master System stuff around. The original Thunderblade, not too shabby. Found this at half-price books for about $5. And at the same time, I found Wonder Boy, which is an amazing game. I remember playing this in an arcade at a Showbiz Pizza when I was a wee tyke. And once I rented Hudson's Adventure Island for the NES, I realized, wait a minute, I've played this game before. What's going on here? Shenanigans afoot. Turns out that Hudson licensed Wonder Boy from Sega and changed the main character into Master Hudson, or whatever the hell his name was. And made their own series out of it, and Wonder Boy kind of went off and did its own thing. It got kind of kooky too. I always remember having a good time playing this game. It's fun, it's neat. I wish I had my Sega Master System adapter for my Retro Freak so I can actually play these games. For the Sega Genesis, Batman by Sunsoft. You would think this is a port of the NES game, but you'd be wrong. It's its own game, just as hard as the NES version, even more so actually. I can barely beat the first boss. I don't know if that's a testament to my gaming skills or the fact that Sunsoft are a bunch of masochists. It is what it is, and it's actually very entertaining. I'm still trying to go for a complete Sega Dreamcast collection, but it's proving to be very difficult. A lot of the games that I still need to add to my collection are really pricey, and the other ones that I need I'm not finding at decent prices, so I've kind of set that aside, and in its place I decided to have like a little surrogate collection goal, and that is to collect an entire Psygnosis console set. Psygnosis is a British video game developer that had their heyday in the PS1 era. They're really big in England, did a lot of stuff for the Amiga. A lot of the games that we got over here for the Genesis were ports of Amiga games. A channel by the name of Kim Justice, which is a channel that is all about documentary-style videos about the British gaming scene from the 80s and 90s. There's some great videos on there. There's one about Peter Molyneux. There's one about Ocean Software. One of the latest ones was all about Psygnosis Games and how they were possibly the most successful British software company ever. And in watching this video, it made me realize that, yeah, I do own a lot of Psygnosis's games, and some of them are not all that great, but there were a lot that I never played that actually looked really good. So I said, why not? Let's just try to get them all then, because that's what OCD people do. Don't judge me. I managed to get 2 of them for the Genesis. Fatal Rewind, which was released by Electronic Arts. It's like a game show where you play as this little robot jumping around shooting things. I think this was called like the Killer Game Show or something like that in England when it came out for the Amiga, but it is what it is. It's not bad. And the other is Wiz and Liz, which is a side-scrolling platformer. It moves very fast. You can actually play it with 2 players simultaneously, which is pretty awesome. The music is pretty cool. The graphics are nice. It's an enjoyable little romp. And also, because I am planning on picking up that adapter for my Retro Freak, which allows me to play Sega Master System and Sega Mark III games and Game Gear games, that there's a whole other area of collecting I haven't even tapped into yet, and that is the Sega Game Gear. I did have a Sega Game Gear back in the early 90s, actually. When I graduated high school, had a party, and got a whole bunch of money, Used most of it to purchase my first car, and all the leftovers I used to buy a Sega Game Gear and a couple of games. I really liked it even though it was a battery vampire, but I eventually ended up getting rid of it, which I probably should never have done because I really do recall enjoying it a lot. Now that I have the ability to play them on a massive screen and don't have to worry about getting a Game Gear with crappy capacitors that you can barely look at the screen because it is so freaking messed up, I said this will be the way to go now that I can actually play it on my TV. So I picked up a couple of games, one of which is Surf Ninjas. One of you people out there has to remember this movie. That isn't me. One, at least one. Please tell me somebody remember, please. Come on, Leslie Nielsen played the bad guy.
Nah.
You suck, Internet. It was based on a pretty flop-tastic action comedy movie from the early 90s. It's not too good. Tone Loc's in it. Why, I don't know.
Funky coma data.
But yeah, they made a game out of it for the Game Gear. This is the only console that got a game based on Surf Ninjas. And I remember playing this back in the day and really enjoying it. It's a fun side-scrolling beat-em-up. I highly recommend it. The movie, not so much. And the other Game Gear game I picked up is another licensed game, but if you know me and my channel, you'll understand the moment you see what it is. Star Trek Generations Beyond the Nexus. This is an adaptation of Star Trek Generations, the movie. It's a Star Trek game, and I'm trying to get all the console Star Trek games, so obviously I had to pick this one up. It's still sealed, which is awesome. There's also a Game Boy version of this, and I'll probably pick that one up also, if I can. It might be expensive. I don't know. Haven't looked into it. I'll do that in the future. Maybe. When it comes to the Game Boy Advance, I managed to pick up one inbox. Masters of the Universe, He-Man, The Power of Grayskull. It's an isometric action game. It's kind of like Tron 2.0 and the Max Payne games that were available for the Game Boy Advance. This one's a little clunkier than the rest, but the license itself is used really well. I think it's extremely fun. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what your objectives are because it's just kind of vague, and the music is really, really tinny, but for a licensed game, you could do a lot worse. It's actually pretty enjoyable. For the PS1, VIP starring Pamela Anderson, because there's nothing like surgically enhanced pixelated boobies. And the game's pretty bad too. Blazing Dragons. I don't know too much about this game other than the fact that it has the voices of Terry Jones and Cheech Marine in it. It looks like an interactive cartoon, and there's like puzzles and stuff like that. But I just remember hearing about this game a lot back in the day and everyone saying that it was awesome. So when I found a used copy of it for $3 at a store, I said, okay, why not? Sure, let's do this. So I have yet to play it, so maybe I'll review it. Atlantis, The Lost Empire, because why not? Men in Black, the series, Crashdown. It's a first-person shooter in the Men in Black universe. Doesn't sound too bad. It could be horrible. It could be awesome. Only time will tell. Spawn the Eternal. I loves me some Spawn. It was one of my favorite comic books when it was first introduced back in the early 90s, so naturally I gravitated toward all the games that were released about it. This one is kind of like a one-on-one fighting game with Spawn characters. The graphics are not that great, the controls are kind of wonky, but it's Spawn. Yeah, it's alright. And Soul of the Samurai, which actually just arrived in the mail today. Got this off of eBay for a cool $5 The pictures on the back remind me of like Bushido Blade mixed with maybe a little bit of Onimusha. It sounds pretty cool to me. And here's where the Psygnosis collection stuff really comes into play. Like I said earlier, Psygnosis had their best times during the PS1 era. They were releasing non-stop games that were critically acclaimed, loved by the players. Not all of them by me. I remember I have a handful of ones by Psygnosis that I'm not very fond of. But like I said, turns out there were lots and lots of games that I just never played of theirs that are amazing. Roll Cage the Limited Edition and Roll Cage Stage 2. Roll Cage is apparently so popular that it got a sequel. But the limited edition comes with a soundtrack featuring bands like Fatboy Slim and other like breakbeat techno-y bands from back in the 90s. These are racing games that have this really cool 360-degree mechanic because your car doesn't really have like a canopy. The wheels stick out really far over your car, so you could flip over and still race. It is kind of fun and unique, and got all these crazy loops and stuff you can do and tricks and all that, and part 2 is just more of the same, but It sounded really cool when Kim Justice was talking about these games, and the footage shown was really cool, so I said I need to have these. Blast Radius, which actually feels very close to Psygnosis' Colony Wars series, which I adore. I think that's one of the best Wing Commander-esque flight sim shooter type games out there, and this could be part of that franchise as well. It's just a little bit different. They just did a couple of extra little tweaks to make it stand aside on its own, but I really recommend this one. It's a lot of fun. And here's one I never thought I would buy in a million years. Formula One Championship Edition. I am not a fan of Formula One type of racing stuff at all. Games, watching it on TV, hearing people talking about it just gets my goat. Shut up, stop, you're bugging me, get out of here. The video footage that was shown in that Psygnosis video was amazing, and it looked fun, and which is not something I normally associate with Formula One, since I think it's boring ass crap. But this looked amazing. I needed to have it in my collection. Rascal, which is a 3D platformer in the vein of like Mario 64 or even something like Bubsy 3D. It's actually really fun, really well made, really well put together. I love the music, and the play control is actually pretty solid. It's a good one. And I remember renting this last one from the video store I used to work at back in the mid-90s, and I thought it was extremely fun. I just never got around to buying a copy of my own because I rented it so much from the store, or I would just take it home at night if no one had rented it, that I didn't really feel like I needed to buy it, but I probably should have. Destruction Derby. I got the long box version because I love these long boxes. I think they're sexy. Really fun demolition derby game. I mean, there's really not much to say to it other than cars are crashing all over the place and there is junk flying everywhere. It is super fun. It is frantic. It is crazy. I love it. Managed to pick up one single solitary sad GameCube game, but it is a good one. I just remember it for all the wrong reasons. That is Pac-Man Versus and Pac-Man World 2 together in the same package. Pac-Man World 2, it's okay. It's pretty fun. Pac-Man Versus is the one I remember because it's been kind of Nintendo-fied. And what I mean by that is Mario has like a running commentary over the game. And me being Italian, it kind of ticked me off a little bit because you got Mario like screaming.
He's not so good.
Normally Mario's shtick does not bug me, but for some reason it really got on my nerves. Doesn't mean the game isn't fun though, it is. And it's great when you're playing it multiplayer with like people inside the same room. I don't know if this next game is like a hot commodity or something like that, or if it's just something I never see in Chicagoland. I don't think I've seen this game for 3 years. And then I just randomly came across it at a out-of-the-way half-price books that I never ever go to. Shinobi by Sega. I mean, Shinobi. And I don't even see Nightshade all that often. You know, that's that kind of pseudo-sequel to this. But this game is a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of Otogi a little bit. Xenosaga Episode 2. I will not repeat the subtitle in German because I will butcher it, and I don't want to tick off my German viewers. I know you're out there. Never played a Xenosaga game, never played Xenogears, so this is kind of like just taking up space on my shelf until I can manage to get copies of all of those so I can play through them so I can understand the story, because I understand it is very complicated and very convoluted. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's a cel-shaded beat-em-up. And I loves me some beat-em-ups. Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. For the PSP, didn't manage to find anything all that great, but I did find Atari Classics Evolved. It's a bunch of classic Atari games that are just kind of upgraded for the new consoles, because sometimes you just want to play some old school goodness on a handheld while you're on the bus. But I drive to work, so that means I'm playing this on the toilet! And then this one, Fading Shadows, I learned about from Metal Jesus' channel again. Metal Jesus and Reggie were doing like a joint pickups video, and Metal Jesus bought this one. He said it was like this obscure game that no one really knew anything about. I took a chance, I picked it up, and it's actually really fun. Managed to find some great deals on some Nintendo DS games. Nostalgia, which is an RPG that takes place in the 19th century. I had my eye on this one for a long time because I really like obscure RPGs, especially on the DS, for some reason. I don't know why, but I do. And I could never find this one for a good price. And then I walk into this local store that's right near where I work, and it's sitting there for $6. Yoink! Insecticide, which is a pretty generic, like 3D platformer type of game, kind of like Psychonauts or something like that. The art style reminds me a lot of Psychonauts if you haven't played that. That is a great-ass 3D platformer. You play as a bug who's a detective, and she's investigating stuff, and yeah, it sounds lame, and it kind of is, but it's actually kind of fun and just kind of harmless, so it's worth having in the collection. And now I can finally find out what the deal is with this series, which I always hear people talking about. There's even a crossover with another series that I was curious about as well. It turned out to be pretty awesome. Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box, and Professor Layton and the Unwound Future at the same store for $5 each. I don't really seem to pick up Nintendo 3DS games all that often. It's because a lot of the ones that I want are really expensive. $40 for a little handheld game, it's usually a little bit too much, and I usually wait for them to drop. Too bad the Nintendo ones don't seem to do that very often until they come out in those stupid lame Player's Choice editions, which I hate. I got a steal on this one. I was so thrilled, you have no idea. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. I've been trying to find this forever, like ever since it came out and I bought my 3DS. And the price just started getting crazy high. And I said, yep, I guess I'm never getting that one. And then they released the Nintendo Selects version of it and the price of this plummeted. I found this at a local store for $15. For the Xbox, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Mutant Nightmare. This next one is actually an upgrade to a game I had for the PS2, but I wanted to get the Xbox version because it's in HD. And that's Minority Report. Another licensed game. Everyone gave this game crap when it came out, but you know what? It's actually a very fun beat-em-up in 3D, and I don't know why it got crap. You know, everyone was just kind of like, it's a licensed game. No, it's actually worth your time. And I found Minority Report at a half-price Books Warehouse sale where every single item in the building was $1. Didn't matter what it was. It could have been a movie, a video game, a book. Everything was $1 no matter what. I picked up only 4 games there because the pickings were really slim. So I got Minority Report, the Narnia game, Outlaw Golf 9 Holes of Xmas, and Outlaw Golf 9 More Holes of Xmas. These are add-ons to the Outlaw Golf game that were only available through Blockbuster. You could only rent these and then buy them used through them. They were not available anywhere else. And I happened to find both of these at the same time for $1 each, which is pretty awesome. Only problem is, I don't own Outlaw Golf yet, so can't play them. It'll happen. And then, like a day later, I found this at a local store for $1, and that was Outlaw Volleyball Red Hot, which is an add-on for Outlaw Volleyball that was also only available at Blockbuster. Don't own Outlaw Volleyball. Can't play it. For the Wii, I picked up a really weird one. Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. Capcom made a game based on the Harvey Birdman cartoon from Cartoon Network. WTF. For the PS3, Folklore. I actually bought this the day it was released back in like the mid-2000s. And it was interesting because it was like one of the only RPGs available for the PS3 at the time. It had this awesome thing called DLC that you could get where you can download like new characters and costumes and stuff like that, and it was really unique and different. But the only thing was I wasn't prepared for the type of RPG this was, where it wasn't really very RPG-ish at all. It was actually more of an action-y game with some RPG elements, and I just wasn't prepared for it at the time. Nowadays, I'm cool with it. So I've been looking for a copy of this, and I finally found it for like $5. And the funny thing is, I still have the downloadable characters that I downloaded when I first owned it. I never deleted them off my hard drive, so that's awesome. Double dose of the 007, 007 Bloodstone, and 007 Legends. They're both action games. Bloodstone seems to be more of a third-person action game that's its own story with Daniel Craig playing James Bond. And 007 Legends is a first-person shooter that is like all about playing through the different movies with Daniel Craig playing James Bond in ones that he had no business being in. So on this one, you can play through Goldfinger, License to Kill, Moonraker, Die Another Day, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And I do believe there's even some Skyfall missions in here, which is pretty awesome. So I love 007. I'm a big fan of the movies, and of course I'm a big fan of the games. So I had to have it, even though everyone shits all over it all the time. But I hear Bloodstone's pretty awesome, though. Ratchet and Clank, A Crack in Time. It's like one of the few games in this series that doesn't have like a double entendre for a subtitle. Don't ask me why, unless you're talking about butt crack. I've been trying to find one of the games that's in this trilogy compilation that I have here on its own. It was cheaper to get this trilogy pack than to get the game individually, which is weird. The only thing is I own the other 2 games individually that are in this pack, so I said, okay, I'll get rid of those and I'll just have this instead. That is the Tomb Raider trilogy, which has Tomb Raider Legend, Tomb Raider Anniversary, and Tomb Raider Underworld. I wanted to get Anniversary again. I did own it back in the day, and for some reason I just couldn't get into it. The controls and all that, it just didn't do it for me. But I've been really itching to play it again for some reason, and this seemed to be the cheapest way to do it. Xbox 360 time. Sid Meier's Civilization Revolution. I've been trying to get this game for the longest time because I really love sim games, and this one just seemed really complex and crazy, so I wanted to have it, but it was still going for like 40 bucks in some areas, and I just was not willing to pay that. And then I go to Half Price Books, and this is still wrapped, brand new, sealed, for $10. Fable 3, which is Peter Molyneux's big FU to people that stuck with him for all those years. Afro Samurai, if you've never seen the cartoon this is based on, I highly recommend you do. Samuel L. Jackson voices the main character, and like his little crazy sidekick that's actually his mind yelling at him all the time. And it is super fun, crazy, violent, bloody, gory, really inappropriate at times, but it's awesome. So, naturally, I said, yes, give me the video game, even though I hear it is absolute trash. Way of the Samurai 3. Wasn't aware there was a part 1 or a 2, but, you know, whatever. And I apologize for this, Wood. When we did that WTF episode together, you warned me about this one. I didn't listen. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. I'm sorry. This one here is an upgrade. I did have just the game on its own, and then I went to a local store and found out that it was actually part of like a set that came with a graphic novel and a big outer box. Enchanted Arms. So the Wii U isn't going to be around much longer, and I know that collectors are like scrambling for Wii U stuff now for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, a lot of the stuff is shared over all the other platforms, and they're probably better on those consoles, but whatever. If I find a Wii U game for a good price, I'll jump on it. The Avengers Battle for Earth. It's like a fighting game, but the weird thing is it plays like a mobile game where you have to like draw symbols on the touch screen on the Wii U and all that to do your moves and all. It's alright. The Lego Movie video game, which it's a Lego game, so it's decent. But the one I've really been looking for finally had a price drop because like a greatest hits version of it came out, and all of a sudden nobody gave a crap anymore. So I finally got Lego City Undercover for about $12. This thing was going for like 60 and up in some areas. Picture Grand Theft Auto in the Lego universe. That's what this game is. No joke. It's actually kind of awesome. And another console that I've really been ignoring recently is the PS Vita. I think it's probably my favorite of the handheld systems, even though Sony has basically kicked it to the curb already. But a lot of developers are still embracing it, which I'm happy for because I think it's amazing. I think it's a great console, a lot of great, unique games that come out for it all the time, and I'm super happy that I bought one. BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma Extend, which is like a special edition of the Chrono Phantasma game with extra characters and modes and whatever. I needed a fighting game that isn't Mortal Kombat on the Vita, and I was just happened to be at a GameStop, and this was sitting there for 15 bucks, and I said, that's the one right there. Child of Light, which is a game I've been putting off buying for the longest frickin' time because I downloaded the demo for my PS4, and it had like a section of the first area of the game, and I wasn't really fond of it, but then I keep on hearing people telling me, like, yeah, that is actually just like the training BS, and once you get past that, it's awesome. But it's an action RPG that's kind of like a side-scrolling platformer at times, too, which is pretty cool, and I love the combat system. The combat system is really cool. I love the way it's set up. It's super fun, so I didn't know if I wanted to get this for the major console, if I wanted to get it for my PS4, or if I wanted to get it for the Vita, but I needed an RPG on the Vita. I needed one badly, so I said, Vita it is. And limited run games, man. You people always release your games when it's like the most inopportune times. Like, I just paid my rent, or I'm in the middle of my hiatus, and I'm not collecting anything, and then you guys release 2 games that look amazing, and I say, God damn you all. And I happen to miss a bunch of them. Luckily, there's this thing called eBay, and I found a lot of people that weren't being complete chodes that were charging like double the price of what these games are going for, because limited run games only charges like $30 of their games that they release. So when I found some of the ones that I had missed while I was on hiatus for just roughly around the same price that they were being charged for on the website, I said, okay, I got these. The one that I was not sad that I missed while I was on hiatus was Octodad. But I found it for $5 more on eBay than Limited Run was charging on their website. So, all right, for that, whatever. But the one I did manage to pick up was Soldner X2 Final Prototype, which is an awesome side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. Bullet Haley like crazy. Great music. It actually has a story, but it's who cares. Great mechanics. I love all the different ships and the weapons, and it's awesome. Okay, one franchise I never in a million years would have seen myself buying is one of these games where it's all about the damn toys that you have to buy in order to play the game properly. I think it's stupid. It's not like amiibos are cool to be collectible, but a lot of them can be used across different games. Like you can use them in Smash Brothers. I mean, I've used my little Luigi one that I actually opened. I actually have two Luigis, one still in the package and one that's loose. And I used that like on Hyrule Warriors, Super Mario Maker. So like it's not just like one game and that's all they can be used for when it comes to Nintendo. They can be used on a bunch of different games. And different consoles too. You can even use them on your 3DS, which is awesome. But like Skylanders and all that, I just never saw the point. It's like once the next version of the game comes out, all your old toys are obsolete. They're gone. You can't use them anymore. And it just didn't interest me at all. Until a friend of mine who's a huge Star Wars fan picked up Disney Infinity 3.0. He was showing me that he had a bunch of little figures. Some of them would light up when you would put them on the little pedestal that transports them into the game. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's kind of neat. I don't want any of these things. And he goes, well, let's just try the game and see if you like it. And Disney Infinity 3.0 actually ended up being pretty fun. It's like a 3D beat 'em up. There's all these different modes and side games. There's like racing stuff you can do and puzzling stuff and all this other kind of crap. And it mixes up the genres very well. Also depending on what figures you're using, which is kind of awesome. So because Disney decided to pull the plug on Disney Infinity for some reason, I don't understand why, it seemed to be doing extremely well. It was like one of their highest selling video game anythings of all time. They just decided to pull the plug and start selling off the license for other people to develop. So they closed their Disney Interactive Studios and they're canceling some of their mobile games, and Infinity got the axe too, which makes no sense since it seemed to be doing pretty goddamn well. Because of the cancellation, the price on everything Disney Infinity has plummeted severely. And I said, the game is actually pretty fun. Might be a good idea to pick it up while I can. So I picked it up for the Xbox One, Disney Infinity 3.0. This version's all about the Star Wars. Although the one thing I am going to complain about when it comes to this game is the big frickin' missed opportunity that it is. The fact that you have Disney characters, you have Marvel characters, and you have Star Wars characters all in the same game. Only problem is they're segregated. You can't play with the Star Wars characters in the Disney game. You can't play with the Marvel characters in the Star Wars game. It doesn't make any sense because the big appeal to this kind of a game was that if you could play with like Marvel characters in the Star Wars universe, if I could play as Darth Maul in like a Disney universe, that would be rad as hell because I'd be going around beating the living crap out of Mickey in his dumbass voice. All the different companies involved in this, Marvel and Lucasfilm and Disney, just could not agree on whatever it was and said, no, every one of the properties had to remain separate and be their own separate thing in the game, which is stupid. But it is what it is, and you know what? I've played from each of the different universes, and each, like the Star Wars stuff is fun, the Disney stuff is fun, and the Marvel stuff is fun. No regrets. And now for PS4, Battle Worlds Chronos, which is a strategy game. I was looking for a strategy game to play on the PS4. I didn't pick a very good one. Song of the Deep, which was actually an exclusive game you could only get at GameStop. It's only $15 brand new. That's crazy, and it's by Insomniac Games. I mean, really? Tukiden Kiwami, which I own a version of this game for the PS Vita, and it's like a 3D beat 'em up. It's kind of like if you were to take Dynasty Warriors and amp it up with like gigantic boss battles and stuff like that, and it is really fun. It's even more amped up on the PS4, which is awesome. Until Dawn, which is the game I jumped for when I got an email from Amazon saying, hey, we're having a flash sale, $15, come and get it. Couldn't pass that up because I've been trying to get Until Dawn for the longest time, and it just didn't seem that interesting to want to pay $60 for it brand new. But for $15 brand new, yes, sir. It's an interactive horror movie. All of your choices affect what happens at the end of the game. The ending is going to be different every time you play, depending on what you do. When I played through this, which I played through in one sitting, I mean, I sat there for about 8 hours playing through this and never once got up, not even to pee. So now I know the kind of pain that you World of Warcraft players were putting up with back in the day. But there's lots of, like, Hollywood actors in here, like Hayden Panettiere, Rami Malek from Mr. Robot, Brett Dalton from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And when I played through it, I messed up. I got some of the major characters, like, annihilated. I was sad that I let some of these people die, but you know what? I'm actually looking forward to going through and playing through this again and correcting some of my mistakes. And then the lightning rod of hate, for this video at least, is No Man's Sky. Everyone is ragging on this game left and right. People are like getting refunds now because the PC Steam versions of the game are not working right or whatever, or people are pissed off that all the promises that were made by the company weren't there. I don't know what it is. People are whining about it. Me, personally, I read about it in an issue of Game Informer, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And that was it. I didn't listen to any of the hype. I didn't follow it. I was just kind of like, when that game comes out, I'll probably pick up a copy of it. That sounds kind of fun. So when this came out, I actually had to go to 2 different stores to find a copy of it because it was sold out. And I really enjoy it. It is very relaxing to me for some reason. Normally, I like games that are fast-paced and there's lots of death and shooting and explosions and stuff like that, but this is the opposite. This is kind of like the Isolationists game, where you're basically alone the whole game, just doing whatever you need to do to survive. You don't really have to kill anything. You're mining, you're trying to build things, you're crafting, you're going up into space and traveling to other solar systems. It's a very zen type of game for me. I don't know why, and when I need to calm down and just chill, I pop this in and I'm good for about an hour. I really enjoy it. Quit whining about it. It's not a Kia, it's a video game. And then the limited run games that I've gotten for the PS4. I missed these 2 also while I was on hiatus. I was sad about it, but like I said, I ended up finding them on eBay for just slightly above the asking price on the limited run games website. Lost Sea, which is like a pirate game for what I understand. I haven't played it yet. But it looks very entertaining. I mean, I love the art style in the back, and it looks very, very cartoony. So, I'm looking forward to playing this one. Zeo Drifter, which I was actually trying to get on the Vita, but for some reason that one goes for like almost triple what they were asking for it on the limited run website. So I got the PS4 version because it was cheaper. It's an old school pixely Metroidvania type of game, but the only downfall is that I hear it's very short. So paying the price that I did for this is probably the good thing, since if I paid 80 bucks for a copy of it on the PS Vita and I beat it in 3 hours, I might have been a little pissed. And lastly, Breach and Clear Deadline. It's like a strategy action game, top-down view, a little XCOM-esque, I guess, but a little less simmy. The thing is, out of all of the games released by Limited Run Games, the original Breach and Clear, which was the first game they ever released, is the only one I do not own in my collection, and it's also the one that goes for the most amount of money. So I'll probably never have a complete set of limited run games. Last year, I found a lot of awesome stuff at Gen Con. They have an auction that runs basically almost the whole weekend except for Sunday, where you can either bid for stuff, and there's also a consignment store attached to the auction area where people that wanted to sell their things there just didn't want to have to put it up for auction. They just put it up for sale and just let people buy them outright. And last year I went to the consignment store and I just kept finding great stuff every single day. Sometimes multiple times in one day I go back there and find something new, because as things are not selling in the auction, they get put in the store most of the time. And yeah, I found a lot of great pickups. I was super thrilled. This year, not so much. So the moment we got to Gen Con on Friday, I made a beeline straight to the auction store, to the consignment store. And I was super excited. I got in there, and all I really found were a couple of Xbox 360 games and a big box full of loose NES games. And if you know me, I don't do loose. Everything has to be CIB. Last year, I found 2 CIB NES games there that I was looking for. Shocked the hell out of me, but this year, it was just loose stuff. There was a lot of good stuff in this box, mind you. There's even some really cool Super Nintendo games in there. Some of them were really overpriced. There was a copy of Empire Strikes Back for the NES, which I've been looking for, and they were asking like 50 bucks for it loose, and I said, hells to the no. But there was also a few of them that were in there that were just slightly under what people are charging for them on eBay. And I said, okay, I'll take them. If I can find boxes for them and instruction manuals for them on eBay, I'll do it. If not, I can just trade them away, which is what I ended up doing. So I bought 3 loose NES games. One of them was Mendel's Palace, and the other one was Thunder and Lightning. The third one is Magician. I've been looking for this one for a long time. I've been wanting to play it because I love the games that Taxan makes. Turns out this one's not all that great. It's like a side-scrolling adventure game, and it's actually kind of boring and slow, and the controls kind of suck. I ended up trading away Thunder and Lightning and Mendel's Palace. And what did I get for those in exchange? Jurassic Park Rampage Edition complete for the Genesis, and the Ooze complete for the Genesis. I went on Facebook and posted pictures of the 3 loose NES games that I bought and said, hey, looking to trade. And one dude contacted me and had 2 games that I wanted, and I said, let's do this. Let's trade for them. So I didn't get these at Gen Con, but I kind of got them because of Gen Con. I did find the Fairy Tale Adventure at the consignment store. It doesn't have a manual, but the card is in there and it works. And the game is all right. It's like one of those early RPGs that kind of reminds me a little bit of Ultima, but it is kind of cool. I found Infinite Undiscovery, and me and one of the guys that runs the auction area had to go scouring the entire game area looking for the price tag for this Turns out this was going for a cool $4. And I found one of the most common Xbox games available there, and I managed to buy it for $2. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. And that was it. That's all the stuff I found at Gen Con in the auction area. And I was kind of disappointed because last year, like I said, I kept going back and I would find new stuff every day. This time, all I found in there was just that one box filled with loose NES and Super Nintendo games that I wasn't willing to buy. So, what's one to do when you get your hopes up and you really want to buy some video games, but there's none to buy? You go to GameStop. Yeah, I went to Gen Con and ended up going to a GameStop. But I did the same thing last year and I found a couple of cool games. The only thing was, all the money that I had saved up to spend at the auction, I ended up spending at the GameStop instead. And I found a lot of really cool stuff. Like Disgaea 4, A Promise Forgotten, Earth Defense Force 4.1, The Shadow of New Despair, Tank Tank Tank, which was a launch game for the Wii U, and it was almost like a budget game from what I understand, but for some reason the price like skyrocketed less than a year ago. Found it there for $20. And Yoshi's Woolly World, which was just discounted to $25 the day that I walked in there. Tokyo Twilight Ghost Hunters for the PS Vita, which is also available for the PS3, but like I said, I've been wanting some RPG-esque type games for my PS Vita, and this fit the bill. And also Freedom Wars, which I know was super popular when it first came out. Everyone I know that had a Vita was talking about it online. And I was like, yeah, I need to get a copy of it because it sounds so cool. And then I bought a copy of it for $10 and I'm like, wow, I wish I bought something else. It is not fun, at least to me, it's not. I just find it very annoying and the story is stupid. It's like a slog trying to get through this game because you have to watch these really boring cutscenes and then you might have an action scene that lasts for 5 minutes and then you got like another half an hour of really long and boring drawn out cutscenes. Just it gets on my nerves, and I'm probably not going to play this a whole lot. I found that there was a Lego City Undercover game for the 3DS. This one's called The Chase Begins, so I'm assuming this is the prequel to the Wii U version. Grand Theft Auto with Legos. Yes. Yes, yes. But the one I was the most stoked to get my hands on. The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. Like with Yoshi's Woolly World, they had just discounted it the day that I walked in there to buy it. They had done the same with this. This got discounted to $20. And that is it for this pickups video. Not as much as was in previous videos. I didn't have anything for like the Super Nintendo or the TurboGrafx, or not a whole lot for the Xbox One either, but I usually don't because I'm not a big fan of that console. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, share the video on social media, give the video a thumbs up if you like what you see, and leave any and all comments in the section below. I look forward to hearing from you. And stay tuned because I have a lot of great content planned for the next few months. So I have a couple of really cool collaborations coming up. There's some new Diamond in the Rough episodes in the pipeline, and a couple of special episodes that I'm going to keep secret just for now. And until next time, I am Chris, the old-ass retro gamer, signing off.